Hi, I'm Justine Kim, and I'm from New York, United States. The title of my writing piece is A Cup of Coffee Grounds for the Ground. You may think that I picked this topic because I'm one of those people dedicating their morning to standing in line for a steaming cup of coffee. However, it's quite the opposite. I'm not a big fan of coffee, but I'm surrounded by avid coffee lovers, yet I have never understood the impact of their daily cup on our environment and our earth. And I would like to read you this paper I wrote. Living in a bustling city Seoul, I see the same scene every single morning. Lines of office workers walking with a cup of coffee in one hand on their way to the workplace. People really love their coffee here. According to Coffee and Life, there are roughly 35,000 cafes in the greater Seoul metropolitan area alone, similar to all McDonald's store in the world. Parentheses, 38,000 according to McDonald's website. Young me thought of cafes as a hangout where we can gather and sip drinks without being awkward. Coffee was a social lubricant that added a hint of vivacity and enthusiasm to every conversation. But as I grew older and older, I became more skeptical about the sustainability of the coffee industry as a whole. One day, when I came back from the States and visited one of my favorite cafes, I noticed something that had escaped my view all these years: the staggering amount of garbage stacked on the alleyway. A worker was struggling to stack 100-liter trash bags on top of each other. When I peeped into the translucent bag, I noticed that the bags contained a lot of coffee grounds, which made sense. Only 0.2% of the coffee beans are used, and the remaining 99.8% of them are dumped. A quick Google search later in the afternoon revealed that in Seoul alone, people threw out over 145 tons of coffee grounds every day. Some may argue that coffee grounds are unlike plastic, they are biodegradable materials. This is true, but when coffee grounds are dumped in landfills, they emit methane gas, which is 25 times more potent than carbon dioxide. The true environmental weight of a cup of coffee that people were carrying lightly with one hand only then seemed too heavy. After entering high school, I dug into my interest and developed my research about making upcycled products using coffee grounds. I read an article about how coffee grounds are used as air fresheners, deodorants, detergents, pesticides, and compost. The article instilled a belief in me that I could take action to mitigate the problem, and I ended up finding and volunteering in a nonprofit called 우리마을 재단 that upcycled various materials. One of their products was pencils made from coffee grounds extract from 2 cups of espresso. What a fragrant and eco-friendly idea. The people at nonprofit emphasized that although I was a student, I should feel free to suggest any new ideas. When it came to upcycling, new ideas were in short supply. These words of encouragement emboldened me to investigate more ways to utilize coffee grounds. It turns out that coffee has an abundant amount of polyphenols, which plants use to defend themselves against insects and mushrooms. If this were the case, wooden flower beds and pots made out of coffee grounds act as a natural insect repellent? Not only would be upcycling pollutant, but we could also reduce our usage of pesticides. Thankfully, they loved the idea, and we're working on ways to manufacture our first batch of flower pots made from coffee grounds. I once held a gloomy view that sustainability and conservation were near impossible to achieve in our capitalistic society, but I'm beginning to see hope. After witnessing brilliant people at the nonprofit who were dedicating their lives to creating a more sustainable society, I realized that I had heavily discounted human ingenuity and innovativeness. Sure, it's difficult to change human behavior overnight, but we have the power to create electric vehicles, recycled toilet paper, and battery storage power stations that can change how and what we consume. Climate change is one of the few issues where everyone can contribute to solving the problem because we're all consumers and we vote every time we make a purchase. If we were just a bit more conscious every time we buy bottled water or a flower pot, we could have an immense impact on the sustainability of our society and the planet. We can do this. I really believe in it. Just like a daily cup of coffee has an immense impact on our environment, vice versa, our small action can make a significant change in the environment as well. And my whole purpose of this writing is to address the issue of a daily cup of coffee and raise awareness of its negative effect on the environment. However, while writing this paper down, I put myself into a huge conflict. I tried my best choosing the most effective words and expressing what I want to say. But the fact that even though I deepen my interest in such field, plan out a project about wasted coffee grounds, and write a piece of paper like this, people won't just suddenly begin to reduce the coffee waste. I mean, I'm not saying not to drink coffee or anything, and I don't expect a dramatic change in people's behaviors. And I know this is not a problem that can be solved in a day by a single person. However, at the same time, if there isn't any movement towards reaching our goal to create more sustainable society, nothing's going to happen. If I keep working on the eco-friendly projects and expand the scale of them more and more, I believe at some point my actions and thoughts could be delivered to people. I can contribute to gathering continuous attention and spreading the information. As people become more conscious and as they realize the seriousness of climate change, we will see the change. Then hopefully my next story could be observing the changes and improvements in people through my actions. It is true that we all need to face some type of inconvenience if you're to stop climate change. But for sure, it'll be a huge step towards a positive change in our earth and all of us. I believe I can do this and we can do this. Thank you.